Welcome back to ONYX Financial Track. This is Ultimate Academy's team. I hope you guys are all doing good. So we are still on the customer system, discussing the inputs and the related screens. Right now we're going to talk about the screen Cash Customer Groups. In case we need to divide our customers who pay in cash into groups, we can create these groups in this screen. Click on Add. The group code is automatic. You will just type in the name and the foreign name, and of course do not forget to save, and we're done. You've created a group. Next screen we have is Cash Customer Details. So in this screen we can create the profile for the customer who will be paying in cash. We have 3 mandatory fields, which is the phone number, name, and branch. The rest of the fields are optional. In the upper section, we can add this customer to a group from the ones that we've created in the previous screen. You have this drop-down menu here, which will contain all the cash groups that you've created for this type of customers. We have 3 tabs down here. So the first tab that we have is Master Details, and this is where we add the customer's contact information and address. The second tab is Personal Data. This is where we enter the customer's ID number, passport, or any additional personal information. The third tab is Other Data, and it contains a few fields for the user to add any additional information. Next screen we're moving on to is Item Order. So the screen Item Order, it's basically for our sales management. So our sales management team will be the ones dealing with the screen. This screen is made in case the sales management wants to add any new item. It's basically an order to add a new item to a list. You will click on Add, and we have 4 mandatory fields. The first one is going to be group code, and here we enter the main stock group that we're adding this new item to. As for item code and measurement code and packing, those 3 are also mandatory. And by packing here we mean what is the number of units that will be contained in a single package. So if, for example, we're ordering water bottles, then the one box will contain, say, 12 or 24. The rest of the fields here are optional, and we've already explained that kind of fields before, so we don't really have to go through them again. By the way, we can link this new item order to a customer in case we have a special customer who ordered a special item and we're trying to provide it. You will hit F9 in the customer code field and select that customer. Alright, so we'll move on to the next screen, which is Item Pricing. Okay, so in this screen we can add the prices for our items, and we have different ways to do that. You can import from Excel, which we're already familiar with, or you can do it automatically by filling in the upper section, then clicking on Process, which will automatically fill the table. As for manually, then we will directly use the table and fill in each column separately. First, you will enter the item code, and some of the data will be filled in automatically, like the item name, level, which is the pricing level, currency, and price as well. Next screen we're moving on to is going to be Promotion Quotation Groups. Here we add items to Promotion Quotation Group by clicking on Add. You will enter the name and the foreign name of the group. Alright, and from the drop-down menu that we have, we select the available quantity for sale. The options we have to choose from are from a specific item, and if we choose that, then after we click on Install Options, a window will pop up, and we will select from that window the items that we want to add to this group. After that, we click on Filling Data, and the system will fill in the table with the items that you've selected. If you're using any of the other options, we will follow the exact same process of clicking on Install Options, then filling data and all that, and we will of course explain what each option is for. So the second option we have is from the highest selling items, then we have from the lowest selling items, and the last option is by priority. So by priority means that we will select specific items that will have the priority to be added in this promotion quotation group. Alright, so we finished the inputs actually, and now we'll talk about the transactions. So we'll close the screen and move on to discussing the quotations. First screen is promotion quotation. Alrighty, so you will click on add. And now we can add data by importing from Excel or using the screen itself. So the tab we're going to use is the first one, which is promotion data. The branch, quotation number, and from date are all automatic from the system when you click on add. It's mandatory to enter the end date of the promotion in to date field, and you will also be required to determine the quotation type from the drop-down menu and also the quotation grant method. So these two things are programmed automatically. You don't have to set it up. You will just choose the option that works with your business from the drop-down. We choose the quotation type customer according to whom we want to give this promotion to or which customers. General means it is for all customers, no exceptions. And by customer, then you need to select specific customers you're giving out this promotion to. And note that when you select by customer, there are two columns that are added automatically in the table to basically enter the customer code and name. You can select any other option according to your business needs, and the table will be customized accordingly. Then we can select the payment type, either it's going to be cash or credit. Select also the quotation type for warehouses, which means this promotion will be dispatched from which warehouse. General means that all warehouses in the facility will provide. By warehouse, another two columns will be added for the user to add the warehouse code and name. The rest of the options, they basically work the very same way. You choose the one that works for you and the table corresponds to your choice. The good thing about this screen is that you can choose the time period for this promotion by specifying the date and the hour in from time to time. Also, side note, you can edit the start date from date. You can schedule a future activation date for the promotion, or you can leave it as it is. And by the way, you can select exact days of the week on which this promotion will be active from the second tab, Other Data. Alright, so after you've selected the days that you want this promotion to be active on, we're basically done and we've covered everything in the screen. So now we'll move on to the screen Sales Orders. So here we're placing a sales order or an order for the warehouse to dispatch a sale for specific items and also for a specific customer. So in other words, you can select several items but a single customer. The most important thing in this screen is that we can create a reservation from the reservation field. If you select reserve all, then all of the items that you enter in this table will be reserved, which means you do not have to use the column in the table to reserve each item individually or at a time. So it's basically a select all and reserve. Cancel reserved also works the same way, but it is for canceling the reservation on all of the items that you selected here for this customer. It's also important to approve this sales order after you filled in the required data so that it would be visible for the warehouses and they can actually dispatch it. And also you can add it to a sales invoice. That will be, of course, after you approve it. We're not going to talk about the rest of the fields here because we've already explained before how they work, and I'm pretty sure all of you now know how to use these fields and how to enter the data. We'll move on to the next screen, which is Sales Invoice. Okay, so you will click on Add. The branch is automatic according to your initial sign-in. The date is also automatic and the invoice type. FYI, invoice type is automatic only in case you haven't added any other invoice types. Then by default, the system will select that it's a sales invoice. But if the user has added previously any other types, you will be able to find them in the drop-down. We then select the warehouse, payment type, and if we, for example, selected cash, then we will need to determine the safe which will receive the payments for this sale. and you can select that save in the field cash number when you hit F9. And it also works if you select that it's check, then cash number will change to bank number, and it will add on the invoice a field in which you can add the check number. It will also add other fields which are check amount and due date. Then we will need to select the currency and cost center. We will also need to choose our customer in the customer code field. And before we select the items, we need to select the tax method in method of tax calculation dropdown. And then in the table, we'll hit F9 in item code to select the items that we're adding on the sales invoice. Okay, so we do have a different way or a different method for creating a sales invoice, and that is through install from. The user can select any kind of document from these types here. Let's bring them up first of all. Alright, so those are the types that we have. You can select any kind that you want, then you will need to enter the document number in the field number. You will hit F9 and the system will bring up the list of all the saved documents from the type that you've selected. When you're done creating your sales invoice and you've saved it, and now you would like to view the daily journal for this invoice, you can click on the general ledger icon. And also after you save, you can bring up the receipt voucher screen by clicking on receipt voucher from the ribbon at the top. Alright, and in case you're creating a sales invoice and you stopped midway because of whatever reason and you need to open a new invoice, you can leave this one open with all of the details that you've entered and open a new one by clicking on open new screen. Right, we'll just give it a second. I'm sure it will respond. There we go. Okay, so in case the customer is paying using a credit or debit card, we can enter the card information from other data. We also have the tab additional charges, and that is if we're adding any further charges on the sales invoice, delivery for example. You will hit F9 in the charge number. When it comes up, we select it and the name of the charge and account will both be automatic. We can also select from this tab which items this charge applies to and whether this charge is a percentage from the price of the item or an exact amount. If you have any other types of taxes, you can add it in the tax tab. As for default data, here we're automatically creating the invoice by selecting the items or the stocking groups that includes these items, and we will be able to view the default price from the pricing types that we've added. We can also select the customer, and we have auto print invoice after save, and that is a variable that automatically prints out the invoice after you save it. So we are done with this screen. We'll move on to the next one, which is sales return invoice. It's the same everything that we've just went through in the previous screen, but here obviously it's for a return. The most important note we want to say about this screen is the type of return. We have two options, determine bill number, and if we chose that, we're getting a new field called VAT period. Here we can choose either current period or a previous period. What it means is that the VAT which will be calculated for this sales return is either the current VAT period or a previous one, and that of course depends on the invoice that we are creating this return to. If it was processed during this month or let's say during this period, then we will go ahead and select current period, but if it's been during a previous period, we will select the second option. We can enter the number of the invoice we want to return in the sales invoice field. You will hit F9 and choose that invoice. Once you select it and you click on enter, all of the data will be automatically imported from that invoice. The number of the invoices that will come up here depends on the option that we have selected in type, Because if we selected previous year return, the system will ask you to enter the year of that invoice in the field year. Alright, so that is everything here. Next screen we're going to talk about is item guarantee card. Click on add. The branch, document number, voucher date, and also year are automatic. Then we choose the invoice source out of 3 options: from system current year, from system previous year, or from out of the system. Then we select the invoice number, which contains the items that we want to or the item that we want to create the guarantee for. In invoice number, we will hit F9 and select it. Then, of course, we will also select the customer code using the very same way, hitting F9 and selecting it. And then we will select the exact item we're creating the guarantee for by hitting F9 in item code, and then we select it. The next part is important because now we will add the actual guarantee. We enter the guarantee card number in the field, and after that we select the type of the guarantee, whether it's a period or a distance. In case we select period, then we will need to fill in the field start guarantee date and also guarantee expiry date. These 2 are clearly mandatory. We can also enter the insurance period by months. And if we select distance, then we will need to specify that distance in the distance counter. For example, cars have 100,000 kilometers distance guarantee. Alright, so that is everything about this screen and the end of this lecture. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook, and we will see you again.